Hey everyone, and welcome back to the recap. Once again, Jakey is out of office on vacation with his family of giraffes, but I'll have you know, tune in next week because we might have a bit of a surprise for you guys. Let's get into it. So first up, Pete, we actually had Dr. Disrespect, who was, I know he's known for this at this point, but harshing on Halo. We saw him respond in multiple different ways. I think actually over the past couple of weeks, we've done a couple of videos on it, where most recently he was noted saying, we've waited 6 years for this. I mean, we've gone so long, they've had so long, 6 or 7 years, but at this point, this is all we're getting. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and like you said, Doc's had a history of going after Halo. Like, what was it, 2 weeks ago, he said that, after playing Battlefield 2042, he could barely even remember playing Halo. And now we saw the Halo campaign reveals. Got a lot of people interested in the game. The big Halo Infinite campaign reveal came out, showed some gameplay, showed some kind of open world stuff, and Doc just was not interested.
That doesn't do it for me. Like, 6, 7 years in production. I was expecting, like, for the especially for the campaign. I mean, if you're going to commit to the campaign, make it like the most unique, newest, inspiring thing that you've ever made. Like, you've had 7 years, you got a big, huge budget, and it's a campaign.
We need Spartan 117, Master Chief.
No, you need a battle royale. That's what you need. In order for this game to go longer than 3 weeks after launch, from a spectating standpoint, it needs a BR.
And if you look back, like, the one point Doc might have is that the only big AAA shooter that's really made it that doesn't have some battle royale attached to it, especially now that Warzone's there for COD, in the last 2 years has been Valorant.
Yeah.
And Valorant took a lot of money from Riot to really keep it afloat, and so he might actually have a point about Halo.
Well, and it has, if you think about Valorant, think about Riot. Of course, Riot has all their production value, and they're so well known at being able to put on these events, even though LCQ hasn't gone super well recently.
NALCQ is a topic for maybe another one.
And so seeing this, we've seen other games that were like more nostalgic games, maybe like Rainbow Six, that did well without a BR. Other games, maybe like CSGO, who tried out the BR and didn't do very well.
The danger zone.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to hear him talk about it, as well as we got to see, I think it was Tim the Tatman, Lupo, Z-Laner, all kind of chime in at different times.
Dude, Warzone is the perfect example because I barely played Call of Duty, and now all I'm playing is Warzone.
I think everyone in the world, other than like hardcore, diehard competitive Halo fans, want to see a BR.
Yeah.
And what doesn't make sense to me is that you can literally still have the best of both worlds.
Of course, Dr. Disrespect, I think he even took to Twitter today, this morning, as we're recording this, to poll people saying, hey, do I complain too much about games? Yes or no, which is what everyone says about him already. Like, Dr. Disrespect, all he does is complain. But in this situation, Dr. Disrespect may have a valid point saying, hey, you guys have had 6 years. Where's the BR? So as we know, there's been a lot of rumors about what may or may not have been leaked from Call of Duty. There's been issues of that over the years. Maybe there's an inside man. We don't know what it is, but it seems as if, I think in this situation, we can at least confirm that some code is out there in some capacity, or maybe all of it, because we've now seen Call of Duty Modern Warfare, that is what the 2019 iteration that we've talked about, has now been cloned literally from the PC console version over to mobile. And it's its own mobile game, not sponsored by it's not a Call of Duty game, but it is literally the game.
Yeah, the game is being called Combat Master, and it is 100% a direct clone, and not just like, oh, it's very similar, like, like how Garena Free Fire is when you compare it to like PUBG. This is a direct, almost pixel for pixel clone of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. The UI is the same, the gun menus are the same, the weapon and operator skins are the same, even some of the maps are the same, and the it's so blatant that this is 100% just completely ripped from Activision. And not only the fact that this was like just taken without Activision's permission, which is wild given how much Activision loves to sue people, like RIP Warzone.com,
right?
But the fact that they not only took it, but then they went and had the nerve to be like, oh, we're not going to do microtransactions. We're just going to sell these skins that Activision made for $20 to $40 on our mobile game.
I think one of my favorite parts, I think Frankie did this story, and seeing some of the comments that people were like, you know what? I'm going to go download it right now, and I'm going to buy a $20 skin on this game just to spite Activision a little bit, because I think it is hilarious to a degree. Of course, it's not hilarious for all the people who worked on Call of Duty and put in a ton of hours and like had to code all of that. But it is hilarious to the degree that they literally just took the exact skins. That is the best part in my opinion. They didn't even try to make their own or do anything else. And so they add their own cosmetics. We've seen this in a few other instances, I'll say, just not to the same degree. I think we talked about, even on the podcast before, how we saw Valorant, they announced their mobile game. There's already a clone.
Yeah, that's a blatant one. But this one is, let's do the entire development process of this game right now. I hit Control-C, I hit Control-V, done.
And somehow put it into a mobile game, which is another point people were making of, hey, why didn't they do this with COD Mobile? Why couldn't they have made this a mobile game if it obviously works because someone else did it that wasn't Activision? So here we are in a space where someone literally just copied and pasted Call of Duty, but we'll have to see if they get sued or not. Big news as we finally have confirmation of OpTic Dallas, and that is OpTic Dallas being owned by Envy Gaming. We saw trademark public information where we saw Envy applying for the trademark of OpTic Dallas, the name as well as the logo, which is just the classic O, but this time it has a green 5-pointed star on it as well. I think this is huge. Of course, we speculated about it and they never really responded, which means it was probably true, but now we know for a fact that Envy will be having OpTic Dallas.
It's very weird. Like the logo, to talk about that real fast, I still don't understand what the star is there for. I know that like it's like a Dallas star thing, but it just makes me think it's a complexity team.
Maybe.
Like Envy's not known for having like a lot of stars in their graphic design.
From Empire. Because they had like a little
Empire had
star
that tiny
in the
star at the top of the crown. But yeah, it's so weird. But the other thing was apparently this was leaked by like a barber that like worked with OpTic, was a few things I started seeing on Twitter. But either way, it's wild to me that this is how we found this. And of course, Scump finally confirming on stream that he signed his contract got people thinking, oh, well, this OpTic Envy merger must have happened because otherwise Scump wouldn't have signed the contract.
Right.
Even though he had that fun back and forth, like little debate with Dashy about like, oh, I snaked Dashy. I got him. We're on a different team now.
Did I snake Dashy? Who knows? You know? Maybe I did. It wouldn't be the first time that I've snaked somebody, right, chat?
Also, I'm kind of sad because I was a big Dallas Empire guy.
Right.
In terms of like, I like their branding, and I kind of hoped that they would, when they combined it, I always thought that OpTic Empire was like the move. I thought OpTic Empire is just a sick name, and I'm so sad that they went with like the really vanilla OpTic Dallas and like a kind of vanilla logo. But man, think about that Dallas logo, work that crown in there. OpTic Empire, that would have been such a crazy move.
I definitely agree with that. I always thought OpTic Empire would have been the move. Of course, it seems like they have to have Dallas in there. So even if it was OpTic Empire Dallas, which is a mouthful, but people could just call them OpTic Empire, would have been great. I think the 2 points I want to make most is A, responding to you a little bit in saying that they have just destroyed, and sorry for the harsh word there, but destroyed two really great brands through OpTic. I mean, they took over the Huntsman, of course, and then now we have Empire, both really big brands that people loved, honestly, even though they were only around for, I mean, short periods of time. What, like a Huntsman was around for like a year, in Empire.
Yeah, Empire won a championship.
A couple.
They were the reigning world champions until this year. It would be like, oh, the New York Yankees won the title in 2019, but in 2020 we're gonna call them like the New York Met Jets or something. Like we're just gonna randomly just ruin their name by changing it.
Well, and it's got to be difficult for fans, I imagine. I'm not a super fan of any team, so imagine the beef that like Empire had with OpTic and different people on the teams and the squads that they've had, and now if you're an Empire fan, are you now pulling for OpTic because now you're the same team? And so it's going to be a little bit complicated, I imagine. The last thing I want to say on this is that now with Envy technically owning it, since they are the ones applying for it, I think that's going to be interesting to see what the involvement of Hex is at this point, if he has some kind of stake in the company,
like a little slice of ownership or something.
Yeah, or if, hey, does Envy just own the Call of Duty side of this and OpTic can still do their normal content as they do and keep operating as normal? We'll have to find out, but we have now finally have confirmation of OpTic Dallas. Yeah, another little bit of drama in the Warzone scene, as we had a Warzone streamer and competitor, I guess you call him a professional player at this point. A lot of people will get
pro player / postman according to his bio.
Right, a lot of people will get upset about that, but this is Din XH, who was playing with his friend Jay and competing against someone known as SuperEvan. During this event, I think he ended up killing SuperEvan and shot his body in the gulag. Pretty typical behavior, I'll say.
Classic COD behavior.
Although some people will overreact to it, but to me, I think that's typical video game behavior. If he kills one in the gulag, go for it, gloat a little bit. And so he does that, and then because SuperEvan is a streamer, we see a lot of his viewers actually go over to, I believe it's either Jay or DinXH's chat. We're not sure which one it was because all this stuff is deleted at this point. But we see them go over, start throwing around some slurs, and Jay ends up reading out one of the comments that is the F slur, and that gets DinXH banned from the tournament as well as from Twitch in the middle of the tournament.
Yeah, and it's not just any tournament. It's Symfuhny Showdown, which is a $50,000 Warzone event, so a pretty decently sized Warzone event. And the chain of events in this is kind of wild. It's a Warzone pro shoots a more famous Warzone pro whose fans go to a different pro's stream and start making these unfortunate homophobic slurs, and then that pro who's teamed with the initial pro who shot the body of the more famous pro reads one of them out loud, and somehow the first pro who shot the body gets banned. It's one of the craziest chain of events we've ever seen in Warzone, but although it is a little nice to have a story in Warzone where someone gets banned, that it's not just hacking.
Right, which is hilarious because it's in Symfuhny's event, of course, and so you would expect a little bit of hacking going on. I mean, I'm not saying anything.
Clearly aimbots.
Right, but you never know, and so it's crazy to see this sort of thing going on. He seemed a little bit surprised. I have to say, I think I was on the other side where I'm not surprised because you read out a slur at the end of the day. You can't be upset. I know you weren't calling anyone that, but you did read it. It was in your chat. You should have just banned them and not read it out loud on stream. And so personally, not super surprised by this outcome, but definitely a bummer for him or for any pro who ends up getting this, viewer backlash, then responds to it and ends up getting banned right in the middle of a tournament. And of course, we're going to wrap things up with Valkyrae, who we've been covering for a while now. If you don't know, go watch some of those videos. We can't cover all of that right now, but she had a bit of a situation with her Reflect product that came out. People disagreed with it, said it was a scam, and now we have some DMs leaked that are giving a little bit more information and background information that we haven't gotten before between her and Ludwig. This was actually Atrioc, so neither one of them leaked it. This is Atrioc, who was streaming at Ludwig's house and ends up leaking their DMs because their Discord pops up and we get to see all of them. I'll start out, we have a lot to cover I think in this one, but I'll start out just by saying she wants to leave her contract and that Ulta has invested $4 million as well, I think are two of the biggest hitters in this story.
Yeah, and we say that Atrioc leaked it, but the conspiracy theory online is still always that he leaked it kind of on orders, because it does show you a little more insight to Valkyrae, and it makes her come off a little more human because her response video was kind of panned as being really naive and stuff. But some of the things she goes over were the Ulta $4 million investment, and now that she's pulling out because she's got her lawyers working to get her out of that contract, apparently Ulta hates her now.
Yeah.
So it might damage her brand with them for a while. There's also the whole angle of she's Ludwig is reading going back and forth with her, and he's kind of saying that, maybe Valkyrae, you're the one who got scammed here.
Yeah.
To which she kind of agrees and goes, I shouldn't have trusted these people. I was too dumb. She still kind of maintains that she saw the secret research, but if she's also saying that she was too dumb about this, I mean, there's a pretty good chance she didn't understand what she was looking at on top of that.
And I will defend her a little bit. I know people will come after me for defending her.
You white knight and
yeah,
piece
exactly. I have no attachment to Valkyrae. Don't care. But in this situation, I could see where she's coming from. Imagine you're trying to get into this space and freaking Ulta, who is so well known in the makeup, skincare brand space, all of that good stuff, comes forward and says, hey, we saw those same studies that you're looking at. We agree with them, and we're going to put $4 million into this. If you're Valkyrae, if you're an individual, I'm like, yeah, okay. If Ulta says so, then I'm probably going to run with it and trust you guys. And so that's kind of I think that's the tune she's playing a little bit in this situation.
Yeah, and I think Ludwig seems to be more of the opinion, which is kind of the opinion that I had, is that Ulta came up to her and was like, man, we found this. I mean, we think we can probably sell this incredibly stupid idea as long as we attach someone's face to it. And if we use a few Gen Z keywords like blue light, it'll just work. So let's just slap a streamer on there and we'll make a lot of money. And Valkyrae was raised her hand, was like, me, and then just didn't do the research, and then wound up kind of getting taken advantage of by by Ulta, by Ideation Labs, because of they're really the founders of this Reflect product line.
Yeah.
They didn't do a good job of explaining anything to her if they even really tried. And so I kind of think that while she's got a lot of blame in this, because like XGC said, you put your name on a thing, it's your job. You maybe do a little research about what you're signing up for. But I also kind of feel like the DMs kind of show that maybe the scam was also perpetrated against Valkyrae, who then just kind of passed it on.
Yep, and so hopefully she can get out of the situation. I say hopefully, it doesn't really matter to me. But if she gets out of it or not, of course, we'll have to find out. We don't know what she'll be able to say afterwards. I imagine when you break a contract like that, which she said she could only get out of because they somehow missed one contract.
Oh, that was my other, that's what I forgot, is that I love that she said, like, oh, I was so dumb about this contract. But luckily, me being dumb might have saved me because I forgot to actually sign a piece of paper.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. It seems as if their relationship is definitely torn. They wanted her to make some crazy PR tweet when she does leave about, hey, I'm still using this and the team is still so great, but I'm going to take a step back or something like that, which just to me goes to show how out of touch that whole side of the company is and does not understand Valkyrae's side and the amount of backlash that people have really been giving her for this whole situation. And so we'll have to see. These DMs have definitely told us that she will likely not be involved in Reflect any longer. Thanks for tuning in to the recap, guys. Next week, Jakey will be back on set once again. Pete will be here as usual. Of course, he's always here.
And Hunter has a Valkyrae lower back tattoo.
You might see it, you might not. But we will also have quite a big change, I think, on set. You might be excited about, maybe even a name change. We don't know. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you later.